Wonder what happens when Web3 or blockchain meets AI. Today we'll be discussing AI's impact on education, data ownership challenges, and how both these technologies together are reshaping problem solving across industry. Plus, an exciting demo of how you can leverage AI and automation in Daily News Digest. Welcome our blockchain expert, Yen Lin. You will call out for people to be mindful of as AI is becoming more prevalent to our lives?
The ownership issue. We already have seen some companies suing OpenAI for misusing their information to train a model. What is the information that you can use, or who do the information belong to? It's pretty hard. How do I know if OpenAI has used my information to train the model? Yeah, so I think this will be a legal or ethical issue in the near future, and we'll at some point need to address it. I'm also seeing some Web3 company trying to address the ownership issue, the ownership of data. And that's what Web3 is trying to do. That's an issue we have already realized, but probably cannot be solved easily.
Tell us more about what they have already done and what is the challenge part you think it's not an easy issue.
If we look at Web2, right? What is Web2? It's like Google or Facebook or Twitter. Your information you produce does not belong to you. It's actually belong to the platform. Like if Twitter or Facebook decided to close your account, all your posts are just removed or it's gone, right? Because all the information is stored on their centralized database. But what Web3 is going to do is you own your own pieces of information. You make a Twitter post, you make a blog post, and that blog post belongs to you, belongs to your address or your account. We can say that. There's no, like today, if Twitter or any platform just shut down, you still own your pieces of information. So it's a demonstration of how you own your data. Only you yourself own the data. It doesn't belong to any other people. So I think that's why Web3, the spirit of Web3. So in the future, we do make all the information on chain or in the Web3 style or format. It's easier for us to track who do the information belongs to. We can always see this account is the first one that published this information, and the other or the rest are the follower or just copy and paste. So we can make the check easily. But it's costly and it's not necessarily worthwhile for every piece of information to use it. So that's the challenge right now. You need to pay a certain fee in order for Web3 or the blockchain system to store your piece of information. Yeah, so that's the dilemma.
I see. So you think the biggest bottleneck is the expense itself. It's not just because they wanted to charge you a lot, but it's because the technology is hard to build in a way and expensive to build.
Right now, you make a post on Twitter or Facebook, actually if it's the IT company that pays the fee, the storage fee. It's not you, right? You are the user. You produce the information. But actually, there is someone that needs to pay the cost. And in Web3, we need to make sure your information is verified or say stored in a public space. We need many stakeholders to participate. For those stakeholders to participate, they need a sort of incentive because they are like contributing their own computing power, storage space, electricity to do this for you. And also on the other hand, if we don't have this kind of cost, this will be misused by some people, and then the system will eventually collapse. So if some people want to abuse the system, they can just send a lot of garbage information and make the system congest. So there needs to be a fee that can't be too high that everyone that want to participate, but there needs to be a minimum fee that prevents the system from being abused.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense. It's kind of like you're trying to strike a balance. You're building the minimum entry barrier for people, but while at the same time, they need to get enough revenue or incentive that is higher than the entry barrier that they pay for to get incentivized enough to use this technology themselves and build everything up. I mean, for me, like data is very valuable, but in the era of internet, like I do feel like the value of data is very undervalued. So for all the, say that content creators that they have been working on their content, there's a lot of them that have been abused by the platform or wrongly accused or just out of nowhere they lose everything just because of the server breakdown or anything that's not their fault. Maybe like more business model will be produced to help solve this problem. After all this discussion, can definitely see how challenging it is. Otherwise, I think it will be a powerful tool to combine with the AI ownership issue, because we have to address this fast. Otherwise, see like Midjourney, OpenAI, they have already finished training all their models, right? They have used up 90+% of the data we have, the public data we have in the internet. It means that it has literally utilized most of the data. It has finished using them, but now like people are starting to claim ownership and there's trial that is going on, but who knows like how long it's going to take. All the machines have like finished consuming all the data, right? I have finished using it and I don't care about your product and content anymore. So that's an interesting topic that if we don't react fast enough, then yeah, are the artists going to sue like Midjourney for using their contents without authorization like 5 years later or so? I do think that's an area that we definitely want to look into and make a good regulation. It's hard to cope with the speed and it's pretty challenging. One of your latest sharing is about how AI is shaping the education. Well, education in a broader form. It's not like the formal traditional system of education, but could you elaborate on this perspective more?
If we look back on our previous almost 20 years long of education life, what we are trying to do it's like a industrial style, right? Like teachers give us the input and then we learn, memorize it. And then we take the quiz and then provide and choose an answer between A, B, C, D. And then the teacher will give us a correct answer and mark us a score. It's like we are doing this kind of training, but this do not really help us think or did not really push us to real problem solving. And that was the system that we have undergone in the past 20 years. This kind of information absorption speed actually is very slow. Like there are some group of professors need to enact the curriculum and then teach the teacher and the teacher teach us. So the process is long and the speed is too slow. But in the era of the internet era or like the information overload time, this is just not enough. Like we have so many things happening, so many new technology being launched every day. So what I think is we need to change the way how we consume the information. And this gradually will change our mindset. Like once we have a different viewpoint or a different mindset, this will change I can't say this definitely change our IQ, but I think it will make us a different person because we will hold a broader perspective, not only on the old system that we are so used to. That's why I started to build a system that helped me collect the information from Western and Eastern media and then use AI or large language model to make the summarize, and then I'll just read the summary every day. So I think through this, I get to know things more efficiently, and also I'll get to know more things happening in different spaces, not only be in the place that we are surrounded by.
That's very interesting because there's report mentioning that the data or the information we have been consuming for the past 10 years have been exponentially grow in our life. And I feel like it's getting to the tipping points that we as a human can no longer get all the information, or even we get it, we cannot digest it fully, or we are more prone to only getting partial opinion or partial fact, the full picture. So hopefully with AI, if we use it properly, we know how to interact with it using this tool to make our education or everyday life or digesting the information.
Yeah, for sure. One last thing to add on. I think in the future, the purpose of the meaning of education will be slightly different. It will not be like learning knowledge and to memorize stuff from 100% correctly. It will more be to learn how to get along with people and how to be a human. Like you need to interact with people and build a relationship through the day-to-day education. But whether you can memorize an article correctly or not will no longer matters because AI will do the rest of the stuff for you. So it's more like how to be human and how to be people with personality and how to cultivate their interests will be a more important part in education. For learning, actually, you can learn basically anything or most of the thing with AI or the tools as long as you really want to learn it. You got the source and it is accessible. Yeah, so I think this is one last point. I think how to be like a human or how to get involved or to the society will need to be educated or will be the key part in education in the future.
How to be a human that actually differentiate you from an AI that is as smart or smarter than you.
Yeah.
You said you have been working on collecting information from different websites or medium and then make it your own digest system to absorb all the information every day. Tell us more about what it exactly looked like.
Let me share what I was trying to do. Here's an example of what I was previously or what I am actually still doing right now. This is just workflow that I'm trying to do and is executing every day. The tool is actually called make.com. And there's a lot of this kind of like workflow automation tools. Make.com is just one of them. It will automate your different files and it will connect to your different devices or your different accounts. So first I give the system the access to my Gmail account. I let it actually read my emails. So like the daily newspapers from Wall Street Journal, from the economics, I give the model the access. And after I read my emails, it will be passed to ChatGPT, so the OpenAI. And then I use the language model. Here I use GPT-4. Oh, that's expensive. I should change it. I use GPT-4 to summarize the newsletter for me. And then I asked it to give me the news title and 2-sentence summary from the content I just read. You can limit the token that it used. After it summarized the content, I need a place to store the information or the output of ChatGPT. Then I open a spreadsheet. I gave the model the access to my spreadsheet, and then it will pass the result to my spreadsheet. So until here, I didn't use any coding. So no coding is actually required. It's just that you need to know what you want to do and then establish the process flow. So the result here. After I run the model, it will actually give me a result to something like this. Every day, the different sender is the newsletter that I received from. Here, I got Reuters, Bloomberg, Goldman, Forbes, or different newsletter. And then every day, the date and the topic of the newsletter, and the most important part, the key takeaways. So I no longer need to scan through the newsletter, every different newsletter by myself. But instead, I got to read what is happening around the globe easily. I just need to spend around 2 or 3 minutes per day, and then you scan through all the major newsletters around the globe. And I think this saves me a lot of time. And this cannot only be used on the news. So news is just an example. I also use it in my work. So I collect like newsletter from competitors. I also track what competitor is doing and then summarize it daily. Or I also use it to track the latest development in Web3. So it will also send me all this kind of summary and a file. I think this is a process flow that we can use without coding skills. So until here, I did not utilize, I didn't write any code. For sure, I need to make a little bit payment for make.com. Besides the news flow, I also use it to listen to YouTube and podcast. I feel there are lots of interesting podcasts ongoing, but it's just a bit painful to listen to 2 hours podcast and then just get a few sentences of key takeaways. But I do believe there are some life wisdom in the podcast. I also like download the podcast and then let language model to do the speech to text. And after I got the transcript, I send it to, I use ChatGPT to summarize the transcript and then give me a key takeaways. So that's the other way I use OpenAI.
Yeah, I can feel it's very powerful. It's definitely changing our life. Maybe in the future, like if everyone is using this method to consume information, I don't know if there's ever like a podcast going to exist anymore because it's just too time consuming to listen to. If it's like information based, definitely you will have like still some entertaining ones that it's just like watching a show, you will still listen to it. But in terms of information consumption, it's definitely, well, it depends. We'll see.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what will happen.
I think it will still be there because you still need to talk with people and do the interview. Like you can't talk to an AI model. You still need to find person and connect and to brainstorm some stuff together or get to speak some life wisdom during the interaction with real people. So I believe the process will still be here, but it's just that how we consume the key takeaways or highlights the podcast will be slightly different.
That's true. Yeah. There will be a kind of content that will still exist producing. But like, as you said, now it's just AI, and there's another stage that we are moving toward, which is AGI, that it will be more, then at that time, AI will be more like a human person who you can, like you said, during COVID, you have no one to talk to, then you start to interact with AI. You never know, at some point of our life in the future, maybe we will be talking to AI and it's much more accessible because like people as a human like us, we have different schedules, we have different time zones everywhere working on our own stuff. And AI is available 24/7. It's just at your disposal. Like I'm calling you to come here to chat with me. I need an interview conducted. There's even like a lot of tools now. It's still immature, as you said, like started to have a meeting with you or to replace your space and to talk to or to start talking to your colleague.
This year, I also spent a lot of time talking to AI when ChatGPT 4.0 just came out. I spoke with it, I think 2 hours or 3 hours per day because I was like at home, so boring at the time. So I spoke to AI, and it's quite nice because it will remember what you just said to him or her the previous day. It will also do the follow-up with you and continue the conversation. So with the memory feature, with the more natural voice, it's actually not bad and it will never complain to you. You can design the mode or choose a voice that you prefer. It's just that it's still, not a person-like.
Yeah, I can relate it definitely. The real connection or chemistry between two real humans. Thanks for sharing about all your automated workflow. I think it will be very encouraging for people that doesn't know how to code. How AI will shape the future. In your perspective, like Web3 industry and a lot of things that's still very new to the society now.
What it improves is the productivity of how people works. And like say for blockchains, it actually regulates or defines how technologies interact with each other. So those are two different, or say they work hand by hand together. And I think in the future, what will be reshaped is the people, or say in the professional service industry. That is what I was seeing for lawyers, for accountants, for like bankers. So for those people that are actually protected by the so-called license, I think it will be affected quite a lot. Because if you look at what the license are certificated, it's actually the process of training a language model, right? You study the textbook and you follow the rules, and then you pass a certain score, and then the government or the agency give you a certificate that you are a good language model, or you can, deal with the problem correctly. So in the era of AI, this kind of work or time will be largely saved by basically the simple AI LLM. And why is this? Is because actually till now, using AI is very expensive. Like for me, like for just my news summarize workflow, it costs me around, I think $100 per month. It's just only the workflow itself. So since AI is not a cheap tool, so I think it will start to replace the people that is more expensive as a case. So for those less expensive, or so for those, not that costly tasks, it will still be done by human because it makes no sense to be replaced by AI. You can't replace the work that you can do cheaper than AI. So that's why I'll be seeing how the work or the task will be reducing. So that's why many software engineers or some a little bit technical role, but it's actually very like structured, are getting affected right now. For those more senior roles, or for those roles that require more interaction with people, will become more and more important. Because like sales or like BD or account manager, this kind of role, people don't want to interact with AI. Like if I'm a client, I won't want to, speak with AI. Or like when you're using the customer service in a bank, don't want to speak with the pre-recording. You always want to speak with a real person, especially for richer people. So what I'm trying to say is the people connection works will still be critical and will only get more and more important nowadays. But for those that is less people-oriented or is more technical and certificated or protected by the government, those kind of roles will be affected largely. I can't say in the next 3 years, but I think we are seeing the challenges very soon.
Yeah, totally agree. Like more tedious job or more structured job, like labor intensive job will get replaced like first. And plus if it's like expensive, it's just like where the problem is because it's expensive. So we can replace it with something if it's doing a good job in a cheaper way. Yeah, definitely agree. And it's interesting to know about like, I know a lot of industry, either people like freak out about AI technology or they thought AI technology is a fake thing. They don't want to admit that it's actually going to have impact. Neither of these extremes are actually good, and neither of these problems are just black and white answers. We are always in the middle, and it's more about if you know how to utilize AI, like even for the sales person, account manager, business development people that you mentioned wouldn't be replaced by AI, but if they don't learn how to utilize AI, they will be replaced by people or their fellow that who know how to exploit AI power on their job. Because they no longer need to like draft their email themselves, but they still have to talk to people themselves. So
Yeah. It's actually come back to productivity, right? People with higher productivity with the tools versus people without productivity with the tools.
I definitely agree about like the productivity thing, and that's how the whole business world works, because your boss will always find a more productive people than you if you are not, right? That can get more things done in a shorter turn of time. But I don't know how AI is going to shape it. Either it's going to make it worse or make it better. I heard that there's perspective about like AI it's a tool to make you live a better job and have all the productivity tasks belong back to the AI itself. But it's kind of extreme for me, but it's also an interesting thought to hear about when it says that, oh, human will be less productive because they are going to enjoy their life. They are going to, I think what I meant is productivity will eventually not be a measurement of success anymore of a person. So I can be less productive, but I can still get things done, something like that.
I mean, eventually it's like you outsource the productivity to the AI tools, right? Like previously we have farmers, they spend a lot of time farming, but then we have machine, and then we have a more advanced machine. So it's like you can spend less time and then you let the machine work for you. So I think it's not like you are not productive, but you know how to leverage the tools to make things happen and to increase the overall productivity of the society if you look at it on a broader perspective.
Yeah, it's more about like a combination of you and the machine or AI that is working to make everything better. That makes sense. Yeah, I like it. Before we finally wrap up, do you have any like recommended resource for our listeners who want to learn more about AI in terms of like how you personally learn about AI and everything?
The best way to learn about AI is to actually use it, is to go to chatgpt.com and then chat.openai.com and then start to interact with AI, or to speak with the Cloud 3.5 model or use the BART. I think that's the best way to explore the technology. There's a book called like This is ChatGPT, and then it explains how ChatGPT fundamentally is, like how it works and the principle, so you get to know ChatGPT more. And for Twitter, there's one person called Min Choi, Minchoi. The person will share some interesting AI tools on the Twitter. But I believe there are quite a lot of this kind of Twitter accounts, so you don't like need to follow everyone. It's just that if you want to look at some interesting applications with AI, there is something that you can take a look. And lastly is the YouTuber that helps me quite a lot. It's called Jason AI. That's where I learned the AI agent, because at the beginning I didn't know what AI agent is and the auto gen model. So this person actually do have some GitHub code, and his YouTube channel, he will show how he utilized the code, and then you can produce a mini application with OpenAI. So yeah, Jason AI is the YouTube that I would recommend. But it's a little bit more technical for beginners. Oh, sorry, it's called AI Jason. Yeah. But nevertheless, still, the best is go to chatgpt.com.
Thank you so much, Yen Lin, for sharing your insights, especially with your extensive experience from Web3 to AI. I've learned a lot from you. To our listeners, thanks for sticking around. Please comment below and let us know what your key takeaways for the show, and stay tuned for our next exciting data AI perspective. Yeah, thank you, Yen Lin. I'll see you next time.
Thanks. See you. Bye-bye.